Important attribute directive. We learned about ng model, ng class, how to apply the classes. Now another directive we have ng style. We have ng style. It is another attribute directive. Actually, the purpose of ng style is used to it defines inline style. It defines inline style for HTML element. So actually, class binding uses styles from external style sheet, which will increase the number of requests to page, and also page load time, and also page. Yeah, hello. Yes, right. So technically, it defines the inline styles for HTML element. So class binding, the problem with class binding is usually class binding, it uses the class from external style sheet. Due to that, it will increase the number of requests to a page and the page load time. So what ng style can do is, ng style can define styles inline. So what is the advantage of inline? Which reduces the number of requests. The advantage is if you are trying to configure effects dynamically to any specific element. So without reusing the styles. So then better go with style binding. So that is the important. If you are trying to configure effects dynamically to any specific element, and reusability is not the main concern, you don't want to reuse, because external style sheet means their intention is to reuse actually. So without reusing you want, then you can go with this. So this is better. You can go with this option. So generally inline style means it will attach effects. Dynamically to specific element. We will not have any external style sheet now, right? Actually, styles are maintained in a style object, and applied to the element. Styles are maintained in a style object. Usually, style object is actually a TypeScript object. Style object is a TypeScript object, and applied to the element. Technically, that is what actually styles, ng style. How generally we use this style binding? So let's see one example actually. So syntactically, how we define it first. Syntactically, we configured that in this way. So we have a div, and we have ng style. Ng style is equal to some style object. We have to define a style object. That's how we configure the styles. Let's see one example how we can manage and use these styles. One simple example you will see. So first, for that, I am designing a component here. Let's add a new terminal, right? Yeah. Let's generate a component, right? So this is not here. Okay. Here I'm creating a component. I'm generating a component. So this is yesterday's example. Yeah. ng generate component and style demo. Okay. Skip test. So let's create a component style demo. And let's keep this in the startup. So style demo. Okay. Fine. Now let's go and define this in the Bootstrap style demo component. Okay. So it is working fine. So now let's design one simple example for style binding, how we can use that style binding. Yeah, so style binding working, the component, localhost. Okay. Right. It can be anywhere. You generally you know CSS. If you are accessing from local, then it's okay. You can get it CSS from external server, then people call it as CDN. If it is coming from external server, we call as CDN if style is coming from external. Okay, here style demo is there. So in this, what we are doing is first we need one image also. Let's take one image. I will open this in File Explorer, Assets, and let's copy one image here. So in computer, we have an image, right? So I will select one image, some flag image, and keep that in our project. Actually, flag is a GIF file. Actually, it is a GIF file. Fine. Now we are designing our style demo HTML page in this way. We are designing here a div. Okay, so div class. So here we will div style as width height we will define just. So it is having the height as some 1000 pixel. 1000 pixel is the height. Div style height is 1000 pixel. We just added a div here. Okay, so then this is the div. The main div is having a container. So let's keep a div. And this is a class container fluid. And here we are adding it. Okay. Now in this, below this div, I'm using an image. Image source is a static one. It is assets/flag.gif. It's a GIF file. So width is 50, height 50 pixels. Okay. What is this intention is actually, this is the div and its height is 1000 pixel. And below that there is an image. The main intention of this type of design is actually, the main concept is we have the screen. Generally, our screen size screen height, it will be 700 pixels, 600 to 700 pixels height it will be. So width will be 1024 to more than that, or 800 pixels. So height is 700 pixels actually. You kept a div inside this, you kept a div, and the div height inside that is 1000 pixels. 1000 pixels means it will go outside this, it will go outside the screen. And below that, so you have a picture. Below that you have a picture. So we have an image here. What is this intention is nothing but whenever user opens the page, this is his page screen. That means he is not going to see this picture anytime. That means until or unless he scrolls down, then picture is not displayed. So you are keeping that below the screen area. That is the design actually we created. So image is there, but it will not be displayed. Okay. So what we need to do now is here, when user is moving the mouse on the div, when user is moving the mouse on the page, so then we will write an event called mouse move. It is a JavaScript event. When mouse is moving, what should happen? When mouse is moving, I need to identify its position and send it to a function. So here we will have a go to the logic. Here we will create. So here we will create a method. So the method name I will give on mouse move. Remember, these are our own names. We can give any name. I given reasonably the same name that we are expecting for an event. Okay, when mouse is moving on the div, it will call on mouse move. This method should know the position of mouse. When mouse is moving, technically when mouse is moving, it should know the position. So when mouse is moving, it should know the position actually. It should know the position. Technically, it should know the position. How it knows the position? How it knows the position when mouse is moving? So then what we can do is we can send $event. $event can get the X position, Y position of mouse, and it can know its position. So we will collect that here, E. That means by using E, I can access the mouse position. X axis, Y axis, I can access the mouse position. Okay. So generally in JavaScript, the event provides properties like client X, client Y to get the position. Okay, fine. Now I am creating a style object here. I am creating a style object here. It is an empty object. So it is an empty object. Okay. What should this object contain actually? This style object should contain some styles which we will apply to image. So to image, we want to apply some styles which come from this style object. Then here we have to apply the style by using ng style. And the styles are coming from a style object. Okay. Currently style object is empty, but when you move the mouse, the style object, this dot style object will use some effects like it will use the position as fixed. Okay, that is the style attribute. Another is its a top position will be, its top position will be the mouse y-axis position. Its top position will be the mouse y-axis position. How we can get the mouse y-axis position? E dot client y will get the y-axis position, and it should be in pixels. Client y plus pixels, pixels. Okay. Another, the left position will be E dot client x plus pixels. That is the object. What is this? Is position fixed top left, and when user is moving the mouse position is collected and it is applied to style object. This style object is applied to image. That means actually the point is nothing but, so generally we have this mouse pointer and we have a picture somewhere bottom. We have an image here. Image is using a style object. Image is using a style object. Technically, image is using one style object. Okay. Now what happens here is, when it is using style object, the image position, currently the mouse x position is suppose 100. Mouse y position is suppose 50 pixels, actually 100 pixels and 50 pixels. Now this x-axis y-axis position is defined with position as fixed, okay, and the top is y, that means mouse y position. Client y means y position plus pixels, actually. That is the definition we are giving. Okay. And another option is, it is having left will be client x plus pixels. That means these are the mouse positions, actually. This is the mouse positions. We are collecting the mouse position and applying to image. Now what happens is, automatically this image, so this is the image. To this image we are applying them. That means mouse position is applied to image. Then what will happen? This image will automatically go to that position. That means here left position is x position and y position is top position. So that means that image will be near the mouse pointer. And when you are moving the mouse, what will happen? When you are moving the mouse, the image position is also moving. Image also updated. See what happens now. I designed that effect here. Let's go to the page. You can see when I move the mouse pointer, you can see the icon, the image also moving along with the pointer. That means we are updating the style dynamically here. That means the image actually present somewhere bottom. Now we changed that image position. And we are keeping that image position along with the mouse position. That means we are applying the style dynamically for that. So here we don't want any external style sheet. So we just want styles defined in an object and apply the styles to any particular element, right? That is what actually the concept of style binding. So why? Because this should be affected only for this element. So if I maintain a separate CSS for this and try to use that CSS here, So we don't reuse for anything else here. Then it is unnecessarily increasing the burden. So several styles will be in such a way that we will apply to a specific element. That's it. We reuse, we dynamically change them. Remember why you define through a style object, because these properties should change dynamically when user is moving the mouse. When user is moving the mouse, they should change dynamically. They should change dynamically. That is the intention. So that means when user moves the mouse, the image position also updated there. Image position also updated there. That's what actually style binding is. You can handle in several ways. You can dynamically get and you can dynamically apply from various locations. This is one example how we can apply. So instead of using external style sheets. So this is one basic example. That means how we configure. So just what we have done is styledemo.component.ts. So in this style demo component TS, so we are just creating a style object here. We are configuring a style object, and we are writing an event on mouse move. on mouse move, we are configuring it. Okay. And so we have another option here. Yeah, another option is style demo.component.html. And here we are applying this. So that means we are applying the effect here. And here I am applying the inline style to the element by using ng style. This is where we are using. You can dynamically update that and configure for various options. So instead of using an external style sheet. External style sheet is good if you want to use across various pages actually. Otherwise, better use inline style. This is not only this type of example anywhere. For example, let's change this example now. Already given in the note, I will clean up this. So I have a style object. Let's clean this up. Okay. I have a style object. It is an empty, and this also I will clean up and just keep a div empty that is having class container fluid. Okay. Here I am designing a field set with a legend, and here I say choose effects. Choose effects. That's how we configure choose effects. Now important. So here we are displaying a heading. Below that we will keep a heading. So a div and a heading, and say some sample text. Okay. So we are defining some set of effects here, category of effects. So data list, data term. So here we are defining some background color. Okay. Background color. And data definition, we have a select. And we have some option, some red. So some option like yellow. Okay, some option like green, something like this. So we are configuring this. Okay, that is background color. And another term is text color. And we are defining, so that is also defined with a select. And it is having the options like red, green, yellow. Okay, like this. So here we are defining like white. Yeah, so these are yellow, red, these are text colors. Fine. Some colors. So you can see this is the design. So, and we will apply the option for this as a class as form control. Okay. This is also class as form control. Right. Now these are the options we have. Yeah. Now let's keep this data list. for data list, we will apply some effects. So here we will just put a style. This is inline. We have defining width as suppose 300 pixels. Okay. Align items center and margin as auto, margin auto. Okay. So this is the basic design, and you have the contents applied there, and it will keep those effects for those contents. Yeah. So choose effects. You can choose the effects background color and the text color. And we need to configure. So we need to define these effects for the text here. Suppose I'm adding one more option here. So you can get it from a data term. So text align. And here I'm adding data definition. Input type is radio. And here we have a name as align. And this is actually left, and it is having a value left. So left, the value as left. So these are the options here. That means we are adding radius. So one is left, another center, and right. We are configuring this. So left, center, and right. These are radius. Center, right. Okay. Now the concept is when user is choosing these effects, after choosing these up effects, that means user can select an alignment, user can select a color, and when user applies, then it should apply to the content. So that means here we are adding a button. So apply effects. And here we are configuring a class. So BTN primary, and BTN block. Okay. Now when user clicks on the button, I need to apply the effects there. So I need to apply the effects there. I will keep this also inside the data list. Okay. So it will configure and apply the effects. Yeah. So when I click apply effects, that effect should be applied here. So first point, we need to collect the values: BG color, background color, text color, and alignment. So we need to collect those values. And then we are declaring public BG color. So is a property, and the public 4 color is a property, and public align is another property. We will bind this to these elements. That means this is background color. This is using a model. We are configuring ng model, and this is so BG color. Okay. We are configuring this as model, and this is as 4 color. And this is alignment. All these are bound with ng model with align. All three will have the same. So we are accessing them and configuring. Right. So they are all bound to those values. Here that will not show any difference there. Now important is when apply is clicked. When I apply is clicked, that means public apply styles click. So when apply styles clicked, what should happen is, so the style object must be updated. The style object must be updated, right? So then what we do is, so this style object is applied currently to this heading. So then we have to use ng style, because we are not having any styles in a style sheet. We are building styles dynamically according to the selection. We don't have any predefined styles. We are building styles dynamically. If you already have styles and you want to use them, then you use a class binding. But you don't have already, then you want to use them, then you can go with this technique. You can go with this technique. So usually what happens is this requires a style object. This style object need to be updated, when the button is clicked. So on the button click, we have to define. So technically, so here we are adding these options. So on click, we are applying style click. Apply style click will get the options and apply the effects there. Right. So usually what happens is the style object requires some attributes to define. That means this dot style object. Generally what we do is we keep the styles in separate style sheet. We bring them and use them. But here we are building the style. And the style object contains background hyphen color. This background color, it gets the value from this dot bg color. It gets the value from this dot bg color, the background color. It gets value from that location. Okay. And color is an attribute. So this defines the foreground color. This will come from this dot 4 color. It will come from 4 color. And we have another option. So that is we have align, text align. That is the style attribute. Text align will come from this dot align. We are applying that here. We are configuring that here. The style object is collecting the values from those controls and applying that dynamically. Now you can see that. You can see here. So once it is done, now I am choosing the background color here, some yellow, and the foreground color as red, and alignment as center, and apply effects that will be applied to the text. So I just keep this heading. So I just keep this heading class as form group. So little bit separated, and style as margin top as some 20 pixel. Little we are pushing it down actually. Okay, now here we are applying the effect, and I select here. I choose a background color. I choose a foreground color and select an alignment and apply. It will be applied. So I am selecting right and click apply. It will be applied to right. Center left, it will be applied to left. Center, it will be applied to center. And we are choosing a text color. It will change the text color. The background color, it will change the background color. Now suddenly sometimes you will ask like, I want to apply while selecting. If you want to apply while selecting, then you have to write the events on change, or you can directly get the value and apply it. That completely depends on how you want it. That means while selecting itself, you want to change, then no need of this button click. You can directly bind those values to the style object. If you can directly bind the values to the style object, that's it. That means now it will work immediately while you are selecting itself. That means what is the point I'm saying is, I'm saying that instead of writing on apply click, create a style object, apply these values. In style object will contain background color, position, directly you mention them and apply these. Then you don't need to use any click event for that, right? So if you want immediately, you can write, various events for them. So we can apply that and we can configure. So select a background, select a foreground, and select an alignment that will be applied. So this type of dynamically building of styles we can manage by using, technically we can do that by using this style binding approach. So this is another example for that. So same concept, but little bit different. So style demo dot component dot ts. In this, we are having the properties to access the styles selected from those controls, right? And we need to apply to the style object. And the UI that we built for this is style demo dot dot css, sorry, or that is HTML, right? And here we just added the design of these all buttons and effects, and so this is the HTML. So that form we have designed. So that is how we can configure the styles. So making the appearance, so work for the styles that can be managed by using this technique. So that is what actually the style binding directive. So how to bind the styles? See, this topic is actually discussed under 2 points. Some people call this concept as style binding, and actually this is a understanding about attribute directives, right? So in attribute directives, we have ng class and ng style, which will allow style binding actually. So these are technically attribute directives, right? Under attribute directives, we are learning how to bind the styles and classes. So some people directly call them as class binding, style binding. It is a concept, but actually these are understanding about directives, how to use these directives. Now, one more important point is Angular. So you should know that Angular have some built-in classes. So Angular have some built-in classes which are used for validation. So Angular provides predefined. So Angular provides predefined CSS classes. Angular provides predefined CSS classes for form interactions. Actually, this can apply the effects according to the form states and input states actually. That means form state and input state, form interactions. Angular provides predefined classes. These predefined classes, so based on form interactions, they will work. When you learn about classes, you should know that Angular has some classes for form interactions by default, inbuilt. These are good to understand in a form concept, but I will just tell you here. Later in forms also I will show you, because mostly they are used in validations and options like that. Technically, so what are these classes actually available? We have predefined classes. What these classes can do is Angular CSS classes can identify the state of form and input element can identify the state of form and input element, and can apply effects automatically when state is changed, and can apply effects automatically when state is changed. But for that, we need to understand the concept of forms, then we can use them. That means the effects will be applied automatically when state is changed. You don't need to call. Yesterday, if you remembered, yesterday I showed you one validation example. In that validation example, what we done is, so actually in this validation example, so we verified whether the selected value is even or odd. Then we are switching between the classes by using a class binding. By using ng class, by using class binding, we are verifying the state whether it is true or false, and we are applying a class. This is options for this, built-in options. I will show you how it can manage actually. Without writing the styles, it can manage. Let's see how it can manage without writing these effects, how it can manage. So for example, we will apply in the same concept here, or we will take a new option. I will create, I will generate another component called Angular, so classes, Angular CSS classes. It becomes very lengthy, Angular classes. Okay. So here we are using Angular CSS. Okay, that will be better. Now skip this. Okay. I am creating a component Angular CSS. So let's keep this in the startup. Let's understand what are these classes actually. These classes can identify the state, can handle the interaction automatically according to the state actually. Okay, it is created. Now let's go and make that Angular CSS component here. Fine. Angular CSS component. Now it will be in the startup. Angular CSS. Yeah. So that is Angular CSS. Fine. Now it is working. Here, suppose it requires some form related concepts also we need to learn about that. But just basic overview I will give here. See, suppose let's go into this Angular CSS and design a form here. We are creating a simple form. So div class as container fluid, and here we have a registered form. And here we have a div, so class as form group, and we have a label as username, right? And it is having a div, it is having a text box, input type is equal to text, name as txt name. It is having a name. And important, it is required. It is required. That means it is configured with a required attribute. Configured with a required attribute. So that is required. Okay. Now important is Angular should take control over this. Angular should take control over this. So later we will learn about that, how Angular can take control over this. If Angular have to take control over this, then we can define it as a ng model. And here itself, we are configuring a name. So we are configuring a name that is hash txt name. The ID txt name uses this ng model. Later, I will explain this informs concept. That means what we are doing is, so this is the reference name for the control. And this is used as a dynamic name now. It is used as a dynamic name now. By using ng model, you can use as a dynamic. So Angular will take control over this. Later in forms, we will learn if Angular is not taking control over this, then it cannot use dynamically, right? That is the point. So ng model makes this control dynamic, and whatever the value you type inside that, it will be stored in that particular model reference txt name. Okay. Now this text box is having required a validation. You can see now this is like this, and we will put here so class as form control. Okay, you can see that is the effect applied for that. So this is, and very important is this is username. And generally what happens is, if it is having a validation, what is the validation required? Required is not satisfied, then it should show in red color. If required is satisfied, it should show in green color. Yesterday, what we done to apply the colors, we written a lot of logic. We verified the value. After verifying the value, we accessed the styles, turn on and off the styles by using a class binding technique. So much we have done. But observe here, I will go to the Angular CSS, the CSS file here. In the CSS file, I am using built-in Angular classes. Angular provides some built-in CSS classes. Angular provides built-in CSS classes. Actually, the Angular built-in CSS classes, what are the built-in CSS classes? So that means the class name. Yeah, the built-in CSS classes, what is the class name? So class name and the purpose, right? Or description, we can say something. Okay. Actually, the Angular CSS classes, so classes, what are the CSS classes available? .ng hyphen invalid, that is a class. That means the purpose is it will apply effects when form or input field, when form or input field have are invalid, input field are invalid. Similarly, we have .ng valid. So that means it will apply effects when form or input field are valid. Similarly, you have others that I will not discuss here. We will learn in validation concept. So because you can't understand until or unless we discuss that topic. Here the situation came about classes. That's the reason I'm giving an overview. This topic will come and again in validations in Angular forms. Initially, you see here, now we are defining. That means we have to apply to input element. Then we have to write input. If input element is having ng hyphen invalid state, if it is invalid state, then remember this is a ready-made class. What effect? Effect you have to define some border as so 2 pixel, so solid and red. Okay, then box shadow, so 2 pixel and 3 pixel and 3 pixel, so red, like this. And similarly, if input is ng valid, that means Angular valid, then the same, we will turn this to green color. That means we are turning it to green color. So we are turning this to green color. So green color. Now very important, actually, you are defining for input fields and you are verifying whether their state is valid or invalid. If the state valid or invalid, then what is the specialty of Angular classes? You don't need to apply to this. See here, I am not calling them anywhere. Previously, we were calling with ng class. Here we are not calling anywhere. And you just defined that input and you asked whether it is valid or invalid, verify also. So you can see now it shows in red color. because required is not satisfied, so then it is red color. And immediately once you start typing anything inside it, then it will be green color. That's great, good. That means you don't need to apply the effects. It will adopt the effects automatically. These are predefined classes. I remove this, then it will be red color. I entered something, then it is okay. This you will learn more better in validations. Suppose here, this is one option for this. Suppose I have another option. So this is email. And input type I defined as email. And usually email also required. Then you can see both are defined in red color because both are required. And I entered username. Okay, I am entering email, John. It is showing this green. But actually it should work for email validation, that you will learn later, because input type email means it should work for email validation. So for that, we need to understand validations. How do we write and configure the validation? Usually, if you are writing any invalid email, then it should display some message. Means it should be in red color. That you will see later. Here, for any number of fields, you can handle this now, because that is having the same option. Change this now. I will change this to txt email. Now it is separately verified as email because we are using the same options for both of them. Now you can see here, so it will refresh. Both are invalid. And I am typing here. And here I am typing John. So like John. So then it is showing valid. So even if I write invalid email, this we can manage. After learning validations. If it is entered invalid email, how to show email is invalid, that we can do. But now important is everywhere, wherever it is invalid, it will apply this effect. Currently, we are using only invalid and valid. There are so many other options also. There are so many other classes. We have like pristine, like dirty, like touched, like untouched, like options are so many. So this is not the right time to discuss, that's the reason. But still, here we need to have a glance about that, because we should know that there are ready-made classes which we can apply. So here just an example. So later you will learn detailedly is, so we don't need to do anything. Just we have to do the effects in two files. So one is Angular CSS dot component dot CSS. CSS file, we are writing the effects for input element for valid state and invalid state. And here, so Angular class, Angular CSS dot component dot HTML. So here we are adding just a form. In the form, we need to define the model, so and the elements. Don't need to worry about this validation. So later you will learn. But just you should know one point here, that classes can be applied dynamically. So, and there are some predefined classes for Angular which can handle the effects, So this is all under the concept of class binding and the concept of working with how do we deal with style binding and all attribute directives, how to work with. Now, after understanding this, now we have to go into another topic of Angular, that is how we can use Angular event binding. What is event binding? And how we can deal with event binding. What are the various events? Then we can design more complex examples, right? That we'll see next session. Tomorrow, we will continue with this, okay? Right. Tomorrow, we will start working with the event binding.